Hey, I'm Walt. I'm here with another financial talk video. All right. And today I'm going to respond to a comment that someone left on my video this morning. And I love this comment because it forces you to actually go back and do the math. Because, like I always say, numbers do not lie. And I think it's a good way to just make sure that what you're doing is the most effective way for it to be done. All right, so the person commented and said, definitely feel like you can be getting more than 3.5% in annual dividends. Have you considered actual dividend funds? All right. So when he says dividend funds, he's talking about ETFs. All right. So a dividend ETF would be something like SCHD. All right. Now, about 3 or 4 years ago, I did look at ETFs as part of my portfolio. But one of the big drawbacks for ETFs for me, especially when you're talking about dividend income, is that the payouts are not consistent. All right. You could go ahead and maybe one quarter get 55 cents, the next quarter get 35 cents. All right, so it's just not consistent. And for me, when we're talking about dividend income, I want it to be consistent and predictable. All right, and definitely I'd rather it be higher each quarter than lower. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is when you look at this total, right, and you look at it and say, okay, well, if you're getting $12,000 something dollars in dividend income, with that amount, that's only 3.5%, and you can get better. Now, this is the thing with that total. This total does not consist of all being invested for dividend shares. All right. So one of the things is currently I have a capital appreciation of $92,805.81. So that means that 92,000 of this balance is not even invested, right? It's just gains. So it's not shares that are actually buying me any dividends. That's number one. Number two is that in this portfolio, there are actually four stocks that I didn't buy for the dividend. I bought for capital gain, but two of them actually do not pay me any dividends at all. And that is number one, Amazon. All right. So Amazon do not pay me any dividends. So right here, you can see that I have 10,000 something dollars of gain in Amazon. And the most important part about that is the cost basis. So when you look at the cost basis, it's cost me $13,770.50. So that's also a part of that balance that is not invested for dividend stocks, right? And then the other one is Netflix. All right, my cost basis for that is $3,444.02. All right, now why this is important, right? To get a accurate depiction of whether my individual stocks, right, the total amount that is truly invested into dividend stocks, is that really paying me as much more dividends or as much dividends as I would be getting from let's say the top five dividend ETFs. So what I did is I went ahead and I plugged this into ChatGPT, and I basically asked ChatGPT based on the total amount. So I went at the total amount minus the capital gain and minus Netflix and Amazon, the cost basis that is not invested for dividends. That amount is $239,111.51. And what I asked for ChatGPT to do is to provide me the top five dividend ETFs. All right. So here you see SHID, VIM, DGRO, HDV, SPY-D, right? And then I told it based on what the current share price was at this time. I did this today. It pointed out each one of them. Also, what was the quarter one dividend for them and the quarter two? As you can see, like I said earlier, right? Quarter one, 26 cents. Quarter two, 25 cents. You could see that there are fluctuations up or down, which is one of the things that I didn't like. And realistically, these fluctuations aren't as bad as some of them you can see over a course of time. All right, but those are the quarter one dividend payouts and quarter two for per share. Then I asked it to tell me how many shares would I be able to get with that amount of invested, right? So the $239,000, which is the true amount that I have that is paying me dividends. So it broke down each one of them and said the shares. But the most important part was the dividends that would have been received combined for quarter one and quarter two. As you can see, out of all of these, the one that would pay me the most would have been SPYD, and that is at $4,691.25. All right, the lowest one was DGRO, $1,978.39. Now, based on what I currently have invested that is paying me a dividend, right? So looking at this, taking that money, these are the results that I would get based on the stock price and the amount that they paid the first 2 quarters, all right? So now what I did, keep in mind, $4,691.25 is the highest. So what I did, and what I do every quarter, is I keep track of my dividends that is paid. So right here, you have quarter one and quarter two of this year, all right? And this right here is the total for the entire year of 2026. And as you can see here, $5,651.35 was paid to me in quarter one and quarter two combined of 2026. And you can see that that is significantly higher. You're talking about almost $1,000 better than what the top SPY-D would have paid for that same amount of money that's invested in dividends. So once again, I thought this was a great question. And the reason I thought it was such a great question is simply because it forces you to go ahead and confirm and reassess and make sure that what you're doing is actually the most effective way to grow your wealth. All right. So if you have any questions, please leave them below. And as always, I'll definitely answer them.